What we're seeing is the unintended consequences of the 1998 Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act. And this has been very instrumental with fueling real estate bubbles in the 2000s and the one that we have now. Not to mention these boom and bust cycles, which brought us bailouts, and now all the issues we have as a result of shortage of labor, lumber, low competition, and even people like myself, who's only 32 years old, who would like to buy a house at a lower price. We believe that this whole process of releasing land, lack of supply, scarcity is unacceptable, and it has to change. I am the local chapter director of Strong Towns Las Vegas, which seeks urban planning reform. And I myself moved here to build planned new cities as a real estate developer that's an alternative to the status quo, which leads me to my other point. As we release federal lands, we hope to see that new urban planning takes place. I also, however, I'm very concerned about the environment, and there are going to be some opposition to it. But our environmental problems is because of our land use policy. We need to make sure that street design, along with mixed-use development, as the sponsor has talked about, removing parking requirements, separating fast and slow-moving traffic, moving away from strip malls, cul-de-sacs, gated neighborhoods, all of that matter. We need to repurpose city and county boundaries. And personally, I believe that federal policy, federal lands, should be given to an authority in the state and the county. We should remove the disposal boundary and make it easier to auction lands to future developers. So I urge you all to please pass this bill. And if you are concerned about outward development, make infill development more efficient. And not to mention, let's make sure we don't have eviction moratoriums like we saw in the last 5 years, which is part of the surge in housing costs. So thank you so much, and please pass this bill, and let's grow responsibly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hojjaty.
The primary constraint on supply is the ready availability of land. Our congressional delegation has been supportive of making more federal land available for housing. We thank and support our federal delegation for their efforts and believe that the passage of AJR 10 will build on those efforts and make the dream of home ownership available to more Nevadans. Although AJR 10 is limited to the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act, we believe that it sets an important precedent by recognizing that more federal land should be made available for housing. We also support collaborative efforts among all stakeholders when it comes to the disposal of public lands. Working together, we can identify the best use of federal lands in Nevada. Again, we thank Majority Leader Howdagi for championing efforts to make land more available for housing in Nevada, and the Builders Association of Northern Nevada urges your support for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to begin next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Nicole Rourke, representing the City of Henderson. AJR 10 urges the support and passage of the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act. In that act is a limited transition area which supports development in West Henderson, and for that reason, we urge your support of this AJR 10. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and Committee, and thank you, Chair Orenshaw. My name is Joshua Skaggs, and I'm the Legislative Affairs Director for the Nevada Republican Party here in support of AJR 10. The Nevada Republican Party supports AJR 10, and we thank Assemblymember Sandra Howdagi for bringing it forward. Our platform states we support the relinquishing of federal control of public lands to the state. This supports the data sharing agreement that Governor Lombardo just signed with the Bureau of Land Management to help facilitate the release of federal land. The bill had significant bipartisan support in the Assembly, with all Republicans and most Democrats in favor, and we hope that the Senate will pass this resolution as well. Thank you.
Very much, Mr. Skaggs. Thanks for your testimony. Good evening, sir. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Paul Muratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is also supportive of AJR 10 and appreciate the bill sponsors' thoughtfulness into the resolution. This aligns the Chamber's federal agenda on a release of public lands for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muratkin. Thanks for your testimony. Down in Las Vegas, I see two witnesses at the table. Whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Chair Orenshaw, Vice Chair Daly, and members of the committee, my name is Tina Frias, and I have the privilege of serving as the CEO of the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of AJR 10. This resolution, brought by Majority Leader Howdagi, targets the supply side challenges that have played a major role in driving up housing costs and limiting access to homes for hard-working Nevadans. Research from respected institutions, including the Gwynn Center, UNLV's Lead Center for Real Estate, Brookings Mountain West, and the Nevada Housing Coalition consistently underscores the urgent need to increase housing supply to keep up with our ongoing population and support Nevada's long-term economic viability. Unfortunately, our housing supply shortage has resulted in a severe economic imbalance. Lack of land for residential development poses a profound challenge. Nevada is projected to run out of land for development in less than 8 years. As developable land becomes scarcer, land prices have surged from $1 million to $1.8 million per acre in Southern Nevada. Until we begin reversing current market trends by utilizing all of the tools available at our disposal, our land shortage will become increasingly more problematic. As I have previously stated publicly, the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act represents a critical step towards alleviating these challenges. By expanding access to land for housing development, it addresses one of the core issues driving up housing costs. While we do hope to see Congress ultimately allocate more land for housing development, we support the legislation as a critical step forward. AJR 10, in concert with state and federal collaboration, is essential to addressing our housing supply shortage. Our common history has taught us that as Nevadans, when we join together toward a shared goal, we can rely on our proven track record of success and know that together we can create the kind of attainable housing opportunities that Nevadans are striving for.
Senator, I'm Kyle Roerink. I'm the executive director of the Great Basin Water Network. I want to thank you for making the time to hold a hearing on this measure, and I do sincerely thank the bill sponsor for all the work that she's doing on housing outside of this issue. But you know, one thing that we haven't discussed today, haven't heard one supporter say once, is the word water, or the words Colorado River. Lake Mead is 33% full. So what this bill is going to do is going to require pipelines of water, Colorado River water, to go to where they've never been before, in places like Jean Lake Valley or Hidden Valley by Sloan Canyon and elsewhere, down to Ivanpah. The best scholars on the Colorado River have said that we've lost 20% of flows since the year 2000. And they also say that we're likely to lose another 20% in the coming decades. So many of the folks who were sitting behind me years ago in fights that you certainly remember, Senator, over water, over importing water to Las Vegas. You know, what are we setting ourselves up for? And I think right now what we really need is to be prudent and to be measured and to not sell off public lands south of the Las Vegas Valley to invite 1 million more people, you know, with so much uncertainty on the river. And I think as it relates to uncertainty, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the cost to families. We've talked about SNPLMA being in effect since 1998. Have utility bills gone down for your constituents in Las Vegas? Are roads getting cheaper? Are schools getting cheaper? Is fire getting cheaper? Policing getting cheaper? So when we talk about this, we're talking about the cost of water. We're talking about the cost of living. We can't fill Lake Mead with rhetoric about housing. And I appreciate your time, and I thank you for the hearing, sir.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Roning. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed. Here in Carson City.
Hello, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. My name is Jackie Spicer. I'm the coordinator of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. We are a statewide coalition of 11 community organizations that are dedicated to building people power through grassroots organizing and policy advocacy. Together, we aim to liberate frontline communities from environmental hardship, and on behalf of the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition, we are respectfully opposing AJR 10 today, just as many of our coalition members and allies have opposed the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act for the last 6 years. At a time when climate scientists tell us we have less than a decade to take action to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, this proposed expansion will only make matters worse if urban development continues as it has in the past, without consideration of climate resiliency or the impacts on frontline communities. This act will lead to urban sprawl by opening up public lands for developers. Sprawl increases the distance between homes, businesses, services, and jobs, which raises the cost of providing infrastructure and public services. Sprawling cities have seen more heat-related deaths than highly dense cities, and Clark County saw 526 deaths from extreme heat last year alone. Las Vegas already grapples with the consequences of unsustainable growth, and tens of thousands of acres of new sprawl development will lead to increased carbon emissions and air pollution from more personal vehicle usage and indoor air conditioning usage, as well as increased urban heat island effects from more pavement, buildings, and low-density rooftops. It'll also lead to perpetuating historical housing inequities by creating new residential areas without public transportation, only accessible to wealthy residents. And last, diverting county resources from improvements in existing low-income communities to community improvements in new outlying areas. In addition, the claim that this act will lead to more affordable housing options is not guaranteed. We'd like to echo the sentiments from Congresswoman Dina Titus in her address to the Nevada Legislature 2 weeks ago that there are serious concerns with that claim. We envision a future where infill development of our existing neighborhoods is prioritized. This vision is supported by the RTC of Southern Nevada's 2025 Underutilized Land Inventory Report, which found nearly 80,000 acres of vacant or underutilized land within the existing growth boundary that could be developed instead. This bill is an unnecessary giveaway to rich developers while frontline communities continue to be economically marginalized by existing policies. When our mission is to liberate frontline communities from environmental hardship, we cannot ignore the consequences of sacrificing communities within the urban heat islands for unchecked sprawl. Thank you for your time and for your dedication to the people of our state.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tara Webster, T-A-R-A-W-E-B-S-T-E-R. I'm here with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada in opposition of AJR 10. On behalf of PLAN, we're deeply concerned about the potential impacts of handing over public land to corporate developers. As we see more growth and development in our great state, we should be taking a holistic look at how we manage the housing crisis. Through navigating limited water supply, extractive industries, sprawl, and increased land grabs across Nevada, we must continue to ensure that we're placing the people and the planet first. As the Senator mentioned, this resolution doesn't do much to address access to affordable housing. It also doesn't take into account the financial strain that sprawl would bring to already struggling community services, public transit, and school districts that would be needed in these new developments. What this resolution will do is aid in the disruption and destruction of fragile ecosystems. This resolution will perpetuate historical housing inequities and hurt marginalized communities by creating concentrated poverty hubs. We need sustainable and research-based solutions to address the housing crisis. We need to restore our aging neighborhoods and infrastructure and prioritize infill on the over 80,000 acres of available land in Southern Nevada. Divesting our public lands sets a bad precedent and opens the door for the rest of our state to be sold off piece by piece. And we urge you to vote against AJR 10.
Very much, Ms. Webster. I'd like to now go down to Las Vegas. Whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, my name is Vinny Spottelson, S-P-O-T-L-E-S-O-N, speaking on behalf of Sierra Club. I want to thank you, Chairman, and I want to apologize for how upset I was earlier about the rescheduling of this hearing. But I think with 4 hours notice, this is the first time Las Vegas has had the opportunity to weigh in on the proposed sprawl since this bill came out. Catherine Cortez Masto, our senator, has never held a town hall. Clark County has never held a public meeting on this issue, and the Assembly did not have a hearing on this resolution. So I do think that there would be much more people here in opposition if they had time and if they were aware that this was happening. And I do think that this issue will linger on further. I do want to point out that the Review Journal today says inventory flooding Las Vegas Valley's home market with no buyers in sight. And I also want to just point out a few things. I do want to thank my Assembly member, Sandra Howdegi, for AB 241, because we do need to do infill development. The idea that we only have 7 years of buildable land left is based on a flawed analysis that would assume a very, very sprawling development like the old style sprawl. All 4 studies the home builders cited are based on that same land analysis. So if you actually looked at the available and underutilized land within the SNPLMA boundary and you built multi-story homes on it, we could fit 7 million more people or 7 million total people in the Las Vegas Valley. We don't plan on doing that, and we probably shouldn't, but that's possible is the point. This bill, the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act, does nothing to stabilize or lower rents. It does nothing to lower home prices. It does nothing to pay people more so that they can afford a mortgage. It just gives land to developers. That's all. But it does have a lot of harms. The city of Henderson and Clark County studied this issue. It would use 49 million gallons of water a day. That is 18% of our entire allocation out of the Colorado River. We just had that allocation cut 7%. We're losing water, and and this bill proposes to increase it by almost 1/5 of our total usage. It would contribute to urban heat. We have the fastest warming urban heat island effect. Building more concrete, more pavement, bringing more pollution into the valley creates an ozone effect, which traps that pollution in our most vulnerable residents. It is a huge source of more climate pollution. So it's going all the wrong way on all of the environmental factors, and it would lead to billions and billions of dollars of infrastructure costs. And when I was working for Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, when I was working for Congresswoman Dina Titus in the past, the Clark County Water District staff, the Reclamation District staff has told me, don't do this. We can't afford it. This is a terrible engineering idea. I've heard from staff on the Southern Nevada Water Authority who don't want to speak publicly because they're afraid for their jobs. Don't do this. This is really bad for our water. So I'm urging you to vote no on AJR 10, to not sprawl Las Vegas out, and to not support this resolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Minjia Yan, Minjiayan, and I'm a real estate professional and a resident of Southern Nevada. And I'm here to oppose AJR 10 because this resolution promotes urban sprawl. First of all, sprawl is expensive and it leads to higher taxes. Sprawl forces taxpayers to fund costly new infrastructure, services, and roads that are far from existing urban employment and transit hubs. These financial burdens would divert funds from critical priorities like education and healthcare. Many municipalities find the residential sprawl generates less tax revenue than it costs to build and maintain, leading to higher taxes or service cuts, disproportionately impacting rural and underserviced communities. Secondly, sprawl steals resources from affordable housing. Because of how expensive it is, sprawl shifts public investment to low-density suburbs, leaving urban affordable housing and transit programs underfunded and deteriorating. Areas like downtown Las Vegas, Naked City, Maryland Parkway, downtown North Las Vegas, Charleston, East Las Vegas, historic West Side, and my favorite neighborhood, Chinatown, where many low-income and minority communities live, and they have been historically left out and cut off from public investment. The real cost of housing is the cost of housing plus cost of transportation. Car dependency is sprawling suburbs, forces low-income residents to spend a significant portion of their income on transportation and owning a car, making their cost of living even higher. Number 3, sprawl deepens racial wealth gap. Urban sprawl is not just a land use issue, it is a barrier to equity that deepens racial and economic divergence. Federal subsidies once built wealth through suburban home ownership, while redlining denying Black families the same chance. True housing justice means affordable housing in opportunity-rich areas near jobs, transit hubs, healthcare, services, and amenities. Some argue we need more land to solve the housing crisis. But consider this, according to United Way, the US has 16 million vacant homes, enough to house every homeless person 6 times over. The solution isn't more land, but smarter policies. RTC Southern Nevada released its 2025 underutilized land inventory study and found 78,000 acres of land within the SNPA boundary that we can develop. That's equivalent to the size of the city of Henderson. Of that land, about 85% was classified as vacant. When we revitalize vacant lots, upgrade existing infrastructures, we can create jobs, attract businesses, and boost local economy and tax revenues. And we also need to preserve affordable housing stocks that we currently have. We cannot build ourselves out of this housing crisis. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with an open drain. Yes, 85% of the land in Nevada is public land because that's what makes Nevada unique and a great place to live. That's the people's land, not owned by a municipality or developer. A city's strength isn't measured by how far it spreads out, but by how deeply it invests in the roots of its communities and people, and how boldly it defends the beautiful land and clean air and water for its children. And as someone who grew up in the Las Vegas area and is proud Nevadan, I just want to close up my comment by saying, Nevada is not for sale. Thank you.
Thanks for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good evening, Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee. My name is Liz Becker, Lizbecker, and I'd like to start by thanking you for moving AJR 14 because I want to go home for dinner and I want to also testify on that tomorrow. I am a member of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, as well as the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition, but I'm here speaking today in my personal capacity. I am a former instructor of environmental policy at CSN and UNLV, and one of those former employees of SNWA in the Conservation Department who very much disagrees with some of the data being presented about this issue. Full disclosure, I'm also quite irritated that this resolution did not receive a hearing on the Assembly side before being voted on. And I feel that this hearing was rushed and is being held on May Day when many of the folks who care about this issue are participating in our democracy and exercising their right to protest in favor of workers' rights on the Strip right now. I am opposed to AJR 10 for all the reasons already stated. I second Rep. Titus's concerns from her address to the legislature. I am a strong proponent of sensible urban planning and the necessity of urban planning, and I do appreciate that public lands would be protected in AJR 10, but I do not agree with the unfounded assertions that the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act will ease our affordable housing crisis. It will do just the opposite and line the pockets of developers, and I am in strong opposition. Thank you.